Greetings and salutations, my fellow humans and primal movers. In this video, I'm going to talk about the history of physical performance and fitness throughout the 20th century. As Europe entered the 20th century, French Navy officer and physical educator Georges Hebert played a prominent role in moving physical culture forward, and did it by taking a cue from the cultures of the past. He studied the principles espoused by his predecessors like John and Amorós. He created his own program called the Natural Method. This method was based entirely on fundamental movement skills such as walking, running, balancing, jumping, crawling, climbing, manipulation skills like lifting, throwing, carrying, etc., and combative, which were often practiced on obstacle courses. Hebert was responsible for the physical training of all sailors in the French Navy, and then opened the largest and most modern indoor-outdoor training center in Reims in 1913. Another Frenchman, professor and photographer, Edmond de Bonnet, managed to make physical exercise and strength training fashionable through the publication of fitness journals, and he also opened a chain of exercise clubs. This laid a strong foundation for physical culture in Europe, but also for fitness as an industry. De Bonnet's system was a reaction against the decadence of the Belle Epoque, during which people lived without thinking of their physical condition and health. He had at one point more than 200 clubs, and many of the most prominent early strongmen and bodybuilders were proponents of his method. During the same time period, in the USA, Bernard McFadden came to prominence as an American physical guru and healthy living advocate. He recommended a minimalist lifestyle based on time spent in nature, daily physical exercise, and the elimination of liquor, tea, coffee, and white bread from one's diet. McFadden started to market a wall-mounted muscle developer that he had created, and founded one of the first muscle magazines called Physical Culture in 1899. He staged the first physique contest in America in 1903. Similar competitions in 1921 and 1922 fostered the rise of physical culture's greatest icon, Charles Atlas. The former President of the United States, Theodore Roosevelt, led the nation into the new century. He recognized the importance of exercise and physical activity, and had the power to encourage his citizens to be physically active. Roosevelt held an infatuation for fitness similar to the ideology of ancient Greece. He engaged in multiple forms of physical activity like hiking, horseback riding, swimming, and other outdoor activities. World War I. The First World War began in 1914 in Europe, and the United States entered in 1917. Hundreds of thousands of military personnel were drafted and trained for combat. Statistics from the draft were released after the war ended with disturbing data regarding fitness levels and physical competency. It was found that 1 out of every 3 drafted individuals was unfit for combat, and many of those drafted were highly unfit prior to military training. Legislation was passed that commanded the improvement of physical education programs within the public schools. In October of 1929, the stock market crashed, signaling the beginning of what would be a decade of economic depression. Along with many other aspects of life, fitness levels declined during this period. The gains that physical education programs made through the passage of legislation following World War I were short-lived. Funding was exhausted as emphasis in fixing the economy became a priority. Despite the setbacks which fitness suffered during the Depression, a name surged to encourage people to become fit and stay fit. Jack LaLanne began his career as a media fitness instructor and preached the value of preventive lifestyle habits. Quick note: De Bonnet and McFadden can be seen as the precursors of the health and fitness industry as we know it. From there, we enter the age of confusion, the age of fitness as business and its many fads, with its current aesthetics driven bodybuilding approach, the use of increasingly sophisticated exercise machines in gyms, home equipment, a huge supplement business, countless magazines, books, DVDs, and even now the emergence of tech-based exercise with numerous fitness apps. Over the course of a century, thousands of methods and programs have emerged, all promising to have you in the best shape of your life in the quickest amount of time possible, with results generally being limited to improvements of your physical appearance only. If unregulated gimmicks sit on one side of the coin, on the other side resides the study of exercise as a science. Exercise has been analyzed and quantified in laboratories, and enormous amounts of data have been amassed on the effect of movement on the human body. The professionals who make career out of sifting through this data and making recommendations based on it are regulated through numerous organizations. World War II. In our history, military conflicts have had major impacts on the state of fitness. The Second World War and its aftermath in the USA would be no different. Essentially, the modern fitness movement is a consequence of the war and subsequent development of the Cold War. With the declaration of war by the USA, the draft was implemented. As more men were drafted, it became embarrassingly clear that many of them were not fit for combat. When the war was over, it was reported that nearly half of all draftees needed to be rejected or were given non-combat positions. These statistics helped gain the attention of the country with regards to the importance of fitness. Important contributions to fitness came during the 1940s, especially from Dr. Thomas K. Cureton of the University of Illinois. Cureton introduced the application of research to fitness, which improved exercise recommendations to individuals. Cureton not only recognized the numerous benefits of regular exercise, he strived to expand the body of knowledge regarding physical fitness. Amongst his contributions were developing fitness tests for cardiorespiratory endurance, muscular strength, and flexibility. His suggestions became the fundamental basis behind future exercise programs. And with that, I'm going to end this video. On the next episode of this series, I'm going to talk about the 1950s, 1960s, and 1970s fitness. Thank you for tuning in, and until next time, thanks for watching.